He told us he was going to win the election, but I didn't think he'd come in first. Yes, a young man who was here months ago saying, yeah, I'm running for selectman in North Attleboro, and yeah, I'm 18, and yeah, I'm in high school, and yeah, so what's it to you? Actually, he's much more polite than that, and he's the winner. He's the winner, and he's back. I told him, if you win, come back. And so he's back, and you'll meet him coming up in just a bit. Let us go to the rundown this evening. I should tell everybody that I am without monitor and never even checked that. So I will have to, you know what I shall do? I'm going to peek over here, and then I'm going to come over here. But we have a lot. Any chance we can turn that on, guys? On live television? Almost? You know, don't worry about it. Don't worry. Watch this. I can do this. Things like this happen from time to time. Let the trial begin. Real oversight underway. Well, you can read these things. I could have got an idea. You know what we're going to do? We're just going to forget running down the rundown, and we're just going to do the rundown. Hey, it's Friday. Rock said to me before the show, all I want to do is get out of this day, go home, and have a cocktail. Guess what? Me too. So if you can't fly by the seat of your pants, you can't do television. Let's go down the items so I can explain them in depth anyway. The first one, let the trial begin. Hallelujah, hallelujah. No, really, this is, how many times have you seen me on television and heard me on the radio on WPRO from noon to 3 telling you that we've got to get to a trial. We've got to get to a trial. Well, here was Governor Chafee, even earlier this week, about being afraid of a trial on the pension lawsuits.
I just want to avoid the long protracted litigation, obviously with high lawyers' fees. And then the uncertainty of not knowing what the outcome might be, devastating for the taxpayers if it's adverse in the court. So I've always thought get into mediation, and we're so close right now, as you saw by some of the margins of the votes.
Well, we were so afraid, but you know what? Guess what? It's over. Even the governor, either through his advisors or whomever, and the treasurer, Gina Raimondo, finally waved the white flag, but actually waved the green flag. They said, all right, no more of this mediation thing. You know what happened? They had 6 separate bargaining units, unions, that were part of the settlement, and if any one of those 6 said no to the settlement, it was boom. And then they went back into court, they went back into settlement discussions as if those rules didn't matter. Finally, somebody's common sense prevailed, and the treasurer and the governor said, that's it, we're ready for trial. So here's the headline that you see on WPRI.com today. The mediation is over and the trial is set for September. Judge Sarah Taft Carter set the trial date at September 15th, trying to get the mediation to work better. She now either has to come to play or kick the case somewhere else because some Superior Court judge is going to have to make a decision on whether it was constitutional to change the pension numbers. I'm thankful that the trial is going to begin. I'm guessing that it'll be appealed no matter what the initial Superior Court decision, and that the Supreme Court will eventually have to make a call as to whether our General Assembly and Governor have the right to change the numbers in a pension. Now, it's a very complicated conversation, and it has to be humanely handled because people are very upset that they've lost some dough. But there's a lot to it, and finally we're going to get the kind of answer that we need. And by the way, the entire nation will be watching this because this is not a controversy in a vacuum. Pension expenses are a problem everywhere in America in a big, big way. I just asked the judge, please move the date up. It doesn't have to be September anymore. May 15th sounds a lot better to me. All right, next item here. Real oversight underway. Yes, another thing I have been begging for here has come true. We have a House Oversight Committee that's going to police the way they do business. Here's a headline. It's nice to see front page coverage for panelists, representatives who are actually asking for the real answers. Marilyn Scherer got a little bit of insights up at the State House yesterday.
Macbeth says the hearings are about finding the truth and accountability over the collapse of the video game company and the $75 million loan guarantee.
Who knew and when did they know? And absolutely to make sure it doesn't happen again.
If it means they'll need to subpoena potential witnesses, they will.
Absolutely, Kurt Schilling would be on that list. We'd have Steve Constantino, who was the chairman at the time that spoke about this bill that we voted on a few years back.
Representative Macbeth will be on with us, I believe, Tuesday of next week. to talk about her chairpersonship of this House Oversight Committee. But she is going to name names. She is going to call people to the stand. Hopefully they come voluntarily. Hopefully they don't plead the fifth. And guess what? Former Governor Don Carcieri will be called, and so will Gordon Fox, the Speaker of the House, who just got raided a 3 weeks ago. It's about darn time. Give Speaker Mattiello some credit for putting Macbeth, who is a real tiger on this, into place. Let's just make sure that the process is as vigilant as it appears to be right now. Good work. All right, next. What is this word? This is the most overblown word in government today. And it's really all about king of the hill politics. Don't get me started when it comes to minorities, socioeconomically deprived neighborhoods, and their political leadership. It drives me nuts. Here's the front page headline. Senate panel hears mixed views on voter ID law. Look, we in Rhode Island actually did something spectacular a couple of years ago. We passed voter ID mandates, which this year manifest with you having to have a photo ID to vote this year. Now, we've got those who say, oh, this is disenfranchisement. This is, by the way, what is that, supercalifragilistic disenfranchisement? It's a word that you use. If you keep using it, people think it means something. Like Jim Vincent at the NAACP at a hearing yesterday trying to explain why people get disenfranchised.
Anybody that is disenfranchised, I don't care if it's one person, is too many. The state of Rhode Island might have 500,000 adults, let's say, half the population, maybe 125,000 people of color. All right, maybe half of them are registered to vote, 60,000 people. You can't tell me that all 60,000 people have the kind of photo IDs that is going to be necessary to vote in this next election. People fought, bled, and died. They were hung for the right to vote. So to compare IDs in terms of gym memberships and cashing checks at liquor stores and Parisian vacations, to compare it to something like that in terms of those forms of identification that you would need for those privileges, not rights, to me is obscene.
No, what's insane, Jim, is that you're going on and on about this silly thing. What's insane is this king of the hill minority leadership thing, which is as long as we keep people who feel disenfranchised, because we've told them they're disenfranchised, feeling disenfranchised, we can continue to be leaders to battle their disenfranchisement. Look, you know what's bigoted? I'll tell you what's bigoted. Telling people who happen to be black, people who happen to be Hispanic, people who happen to be poor, that they can't follow simple rules to vote like everybody else can. I understand Mr. Vincent actually said, you know, what if somebody forgets their ID on the way to the polls, you know, and they don't go back to get it? They're then disenfranchised. No, they're lazy. And that happens whether you're black, white, purple, orange, rich, or poor. The dumbest concept I've ever heard. Stop it. Next item. This is interesting. There's a raise for the state employees, as this headline tells us. Now, this will be retroed to a couple of weeks ago. The state employees haven't had a deal in a while. And of course, Governor Chafee at the administration level makes this kind of call. This is a multi-year deal with 2% retro to a couple of weeks ago, and then another 2% in 2014. Well, this is 2014, 2015, and then 2016 or whatever. It's a couple, 3 years. So it's, yeah, whatever. Here's the thing. Last I checked, Governor Chafee was out the door at the end of this year. And here's what I'm proposing. It's not really him, because this thing has been off cycle all along. What we need to do is we need to put these pay raises for state employees in cycle with gubernatorial terms, because he just stuck the next governor, whoever he or she may be, with a multi-year deal. You know, if you're responsible for creating the budget, and governors are, you ought to be responsible for the numbers on your own. Just a thought. Next item. Yeah, just in time, right? So we get millions and millions of people, 7 million people reportedly signing up for Obamacare. We got a front page story now that Kathleen Sebelius, who heads up Health and Human Services, has resigned. Fox has a little bit of a ditty on this to explain some of the nuances.
Republicans have been calling for a resignation since October. saying she should be held responsible for the numerous computer glitches on healthcare.gov, which prevented some Americans from enrolling on the federal exchanges.
Secretary Sebelius was in charge of implementing a very unpopular policy, and her departure signals the end of a very tumultuous era for the Obama administration.
President Obama is nominating his current White House budget director, Sylvia Matthews-Burwell, to replace Sebelius.
Here's the thing. Look, you know what? Kathleen Sebelius was in charge when it was a mess. They had some, good vibe with the enrollees. The mess will continue, and the election season is upon the Democrats, and they don't want her to be the face of Obamacare. Timing is everything, and she gets out well before people start paying attention to the election, which is, I guess, smart politics. Speaking of smart, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame finally did the right thing. Here's the Billboard headline. Yes, KISS. And all four members, they've been in pairs fighting each other for a while, but Paul and Gene and Ace and Peter all showed up, without the makeup, of course, to graciously accept their award. Very nice. We've got a little video of that. Let me tell you, if you grew up in the 70s and your old fat host did, let me tell you something. There were some good parties. There's some good music, some good concerts. In fact, my first ever concert as a freshman in high school was a Kiss Alive, what do you call those, knockoff bands? Tribute bands. But I went to, Rox and I both, separately of course, we didn't know each other at the time, went to some pretty good shows. But I will tell you, with all of the costuming and everything else that made them so terrific, they have to be credited for one thing. KISS created the most dramatic, tearful, dumb lyric song in the history of rock and roll. Have you ever listened to the words of Beth? You love that song, right? Yeah. Beth, I'll hear you calling. All about a band member who won't get home because he's going to be too drunk. But it sounds like a Hallmark card. I'm glad I finally got a chance to say that on the air. I find myself singing that song thinking, this is the dumbest song ever written. And finally, it is Masters weekend, as I noted last night. It's tigerless, by the way. So everything that you'll see for the rest of the weekend is tigerless. We do miss Tiger and his presence, but you know what? The magic of Augusta is bigger than any one player, no doubt. He won! He's here. Don't go anywhere. The monitor's fixed, by the way.
More on what's happening in government, especially on a local level, because it really impacts people. And I see that especially in North Attleboro with our closed factories in downtown and the effects of firing 60 teachers. I think that we need change in town government. I think people should be interested in that.
Well, obviously they were, because they elected him. Here's the headline right here. North Attleboro High School senior becomes the town's youngest ever selectman. I like the young peoples because it keeps us young. But we don't have a lot of young people in politics. When you were here, when were you here? I'm supposed to know that.
In the fall at some point.
Yeah, it was early on in the Dan Yorke State of Mind extravaganza. Mm-hmm. We were happy to have you, and you were humble but confident that you were going to win, and you did. Congratulations.
Good, thank you.
How's it feel to be an elected official at 18 years of age?
It's been pretty crazy the last few weeks with all the meetings and media appearances, so it's kind of starting to slow down.
Well, let's remember. I mean, you were on me when you were nobody.
That's right.
So you start getting to be some kind of gubernatorial hotshot. You better still be coming around here.
Absolutely, I definitely will.
Really impressive. You actually were the top vote getter, significantly. With 1,100? I think I got my notes here. 1,100 votes, the highest of 4 candidates running for 2 seats on the Board of Selectmen. What do you attribute that to?
I think just hard work and a lot of old-fashioned campaigning. It's been a long couple months, a lot of doors we knocked on, a lot of phone calls, and talking to a lot of people.
Tell everybody what the big issues were in North Attleboro.
The big issues have been the budget and economic development. Downtown we have a lot of empty factories and empty stores, and so I think people have been kind of fed up with the way it's been going, and they want some new perspectives to try to bring a new generation of leadership to North Attleboro.
And what were you telling them?
I was telling them that it's time for some fresh perspectives and some new ideas, and just try to kind of shake things up down at Town Hall.
What are your new ideas?
I think that one of the things I want to do is streamline the permitting process. we have a reputation in North Attleboro for kind of being tough to open up a new business. And I think using things like new technologies, we can really try to attract businesses, especially high-tech businesses I want to bring into North Attleboro. And so to bring some easier permitting process and try to go out and reach out to those companies, especially high-tech startups, because there's so many great minds and money in Providence and Boston, but it's so expensive to open up a store there, a facility, and so I think we can attract them to North Attleboro.
People are watching this thinking, this guy's like got it going on. Remind everybody why you got interested in this kind of stuff.
Well, I think it started in 8th grade, just watching TV and while I learned in school, and so I just decided to go to a meeting one day for a campaign, and I just been involved in different campaigns and worked up at the State House. And so when I saw that there was a seat available on the Board of Selectmen, the incumbent wasn't running, I said, someone new should run. And then I took a look in the mirror and said, well, why don't I give it a try?
How's school?
It's been pretty crazy. When this campaign started, people said I was crazy, and that people would, kids would never get involved in politics. They never care. But, so many kids have come with me and talked to me about what they want to change in town, and so many kids have been involved in our campaign.
What do the kids want to change in town?
I think they're tired of the same people running things in town. And I know right now, the superintendent's saying that next year we're going to have to cut all sports and extra school activities for our school. So obviously that's a big thing they care about, and so they want to get some more money in the budget. Oh,
right?
Absolutely not.
No, but what are they talking about, user fees and that kind of stuff?
No, we already have user fees, and now they've said it's too expensive, so they want to cut all sports entirely.
No.
That is what the plan is right now.
No, that can't be. That's always a threat. So now I'm not going to treat you with kid gloves on this. That's complete baloney. That's the way you leverage arguments against something else. So what's the hidden agenda there? Have you figured that out yet? You better, because now you're an elected official.
Yeah, well, the school committee wants some more money for the schools, as they do every year, and so that's kind of what they put on the table right now. So hopefully we can, there's lots to talk about an override and raising taxes, but I think the best way to get more revenue so we can fund things like sports in our education budget is to increase the tax base, which means get some more taxpayers in North Attleboro, be more residents and more businesses, and so that's what I want to look at first before we talk about overrides.
Republican or Democrat?
I'm a Republican.
Yeah, see, get that tax base increase, blah, blah, blah. By the way, Proposition 2.5 is the best tool, I think, because the people can decide whether or not they want to raise taxes past that 2.5% level.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We just had a vote on it last year. They tried an override, and it failed by a pretty large margin.
Which is why we should just adopt Massachusetts' idea in Rhode Island and be done with it. When we come back, I want to talk about the voter turnout, though. It wasn't very good. Stay with us. There is the winner. He is going to be well. He's been a media conversation here for quite some time, what, MSNBC is doing a little. You're going to be live on MSNBC Sunday.
Yep.
All right.
Sunday at
You have a
some point.
Twitter account?
Yeah, it's at Pat Reynolds 123.
At Pat Reynolds 123. We didn't put that up, but you'll remember that. At Pat Reynolds 123. And you'll tweet out when you're going to be on national television. People are going to kick out of that. And you've had some Boston TV coverage, and that's good stuff. I mean, it's nice to see a young person get so involved, have such a mature approach to elected politics. Patrick is the youngest ever select person in North Attleboro, just recently elected on April 1st. During the break, we were kind of talking about some of the stuff that goes on. In short order, a matter of a couple of days or weeks, now that you have been sworn in, all the nicey about, oh, isn't he cute, he ran for office, is going to be gone. You're going to be working. Yeah. People are going to be working you, man, on everything from a permit to add an addition to, big-time money decisions for the town. You ready for that?
Absolutely. That's why I got into this race, to try to shake things up in town hall.
11% voter turnout, though. It's an off election. It's April Fool's Day. It wasn't a joke that you were elected, though, that's for sure. But what do you think about that? 11% turnout from the electorate. That says something.
Yeah, it was disappointing. I wish that we had had more resources. We could have, reached out to all the voters. But the way it works, when you have such limited time and resources, we can only really target the people that usually get out and vote. So we got a list of who usually votes, and we, phone called and knocked on their doors. And I wish we could have reached out to more voters, but that's kind of people that only vote, and no one else seems to really care until the governor's race comes around.
Well, you targeted active voters, did you not?
Absolutely, yeah.
I mean, so you worked it. You can't do much about the turnout.
Yeah.
All you can do is the best you can, and you dominated the election. Remind everybody what you want to do with your life other than elected politics. You're going to go to college? Where are you going to go?
I'm not sure yet.
What are you going to major in?
Political science.
That's right. Do you know what you want to be when you are grown up more? Because you're grown up now. What do you want to do?
I want to continue in public service. You know, it's been pretty great so far, and so however my community feels, that'll be best, how I can serve them best.
What's the message to young people? I mean, you know, you are now a role model. Whether you wanted to be or not, you are. You're an 18-year-old that's been elected to office. What's the message to young people?
Yeah, I think the message is that age is just a number, and it doesn't matter. You know, when I first got my real job in politics, my first kind of real job in politics, working for Senator Brown, it was a job that was just open to college students, but I applied for it anyway. And this job, I think the mindset was, is this job only available to the kind of older white men in the community, but I applied for it anyway. And you know, so I think age is just a number, and if you have a good idea, then go out there and chat about it, and shout it out.
The family must be proud.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They've been, on election day, Mom was texting all her friends in town to make sure to get out there and vote.
You're not making your parents call you selectman, are you?
No.
They can still say, Patrick, get in
Yeah.
here for dinner. All right, congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm really proud of you. And keep a fiscally conservative mindset.
Absolutely.
Don't go nuts on the spending. Will you check in with us from time to time?
Of course.
All right, because we're going to hold your feet to the fire too.
Oh, absolutely. I hope so.
All right, man. Congratulations. Your state of mind when we come back. Stay with us. We always want to know what is on your state of mind. You can contact us via voicemail, email, tweet, Facebook post. Here's some email, I believe, that we've got here. Richard writes, we really like the show and the new quieter, demure Dan. Really? Huh. I love it when people say that. I like the Dan Yorke Show for a long time, but haven't seen it in a while. Well, where you been, Jonathan? The name State of Mind is a cool name. I think so, too. Guess what? I came up with it. Even a blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while. I gotta go. It's been a heck of a week. We'll see you Monday on my cool name show, State of Mind, 7:30, MyRI TV. And we repeat 11:30 in case you miss it. Bye. Good week.